The Last Hope. The holographic display bathed Captain Ilara Voss's face in eerie blue light as she studied the tactical map. At 38, with piercing gray eyes and a scar running from her left temple to her jaw, she had spent half her life fighting the Meridian Collective. Now she commanded humanity's final gambit, the prototype warship HSS Vindication. "Distance to Meridian detection grid?" she asked, her voice steady despite the weight on her shoulders. Lieutenant Commander Shen looked up from his console. 30 minutes at current velocity, Captain. Stealth systems operating at peak efficiency. Ilara nodded. The Vindication represented humanity's finest achievement, and its last hope. After 7 years of relentless war, Earth and its colonies lay in ruins. The Meridian Collective, with their superior technology and hive-mind tactical coordination, had systematically dismantled human defenses across 12 star systems. 3 months ago, the Vindication had slipped away from Earth's besieged shipyards, carrying an experimental weapon that might change everything. While the remaining human fleet staged a desperate diversionary attack near Proxima Centauri, Ilara's mission was to penetrate deep into Meridian space and strike at the heart of their empire. "Engineering reports quantum disruptor at 98% stability," announced Chief Engineer Reza Karimi through the intercom, "ready to deploy on your command." The quantum disruptor was the product of humanity's most brilliant minds, scientists who had worked tirelessly even as their research stations burned around them. When Dr. Imani Okafor had captured a Meridian communication node during the Battle of Europa, she made an astonishing discovery. The entire collective military operated as a single neural network, with every soldier and ship connected through quantum entanglement. It made them devastatingly efficient, but it also created a vulnerability. "Navigation. Maintain course through the Helios debris field," Ilara ordered. "Tactical, continuous passage scans. I want to know the moment anything approaches." Commander Julia Torres, her XO and oldest friend, joined her at the tactical display. "The crew's ready, Ilara," she said quietly, using her captain's first name when no one else could hear. "They know what's at stake." Ilara's hand briefly touched the silver pendant at her throat, the only memento she had of her family, lost when the Meridians reduced New Sydney to molten slag. "We all do." The bridge fell silent as the Vindication glided through space, its experimental hull absorbing ambient radiation rather than reflecting it. The stealth technology had been adapted from studies of Meridian scout ships, one of the few advantages humans had gained in the bitter war. "Captain," called Lieutenant Park from the sensor station, detecting Meridian patrol formation at coordinates 223 by 47 by 18. 3 vessels, Striker class. "Time to intercept?" Ilara asked. "None, if we maintain current trajectory. They'll pass 2,000 kilometers to starboard." Ilara watched the red markers representing the Meridian ships on the tactical display. They moved with mechanical precision, their patterns so predictable they might as well have been programmed automatons. In a sense, they were every Meridian soldier existed as part of their collective consciousness, sharing thoughts and tactical information instantaneously across vast distances. "Their predictability is their weakness," Torres murmured. "And their strength," Ilara countered. "They coordinate perfectly because they're functionally a single entity. No hesitation, no confusion, no fear." The Meridian patrol passed without incident, and the Vindication continued its silent journey toward the heart of enemy territory. For 6 hours, they navigated through increasingly dense patrol zones, relying on their stealth systems and the precise maneuvers of Lieutenant Devon Wells at the helm. As they approached the outer defense perimeter of the Meridian home system, Ilara called a meeting in the tactical room. The ship's senior officers gathered around a 3-dimensional projection of their target. "This is Nexus Prime," she said, pointing to a massive orbital structure above a blue-green planet, the central hub of the Meridian neural network. Every order, every thought that coordinates their military flows through this structure. Dr. Vikram Shah, the ship's science officer, highlighted a pulsing node at the center of the structure. The quantum core is here. If we can deploy the disruptor within 10 kilometers of this point, the resulting cascade will sever every quantum connection in their network. And then what happens? Asked Lieutenant Commander Shen. Dr. Shaw exchanged glances with Engineer Karimi. In theory, every Meridian soldier and ship will suddenly lose their collective consciousness. They'll be individuals for the first time in their existence. In the best case, complete confusion and disarray, Karimi added. In the worst case, we don't know, but it should give humanity the opening it needs. Ilara studied the faces of her officers, 15 men and women representing the best of what remained of humanity's fleet. This is a one-way mission, she said bluntly. Even if we succeed, the chances of the Vindication surviving the aftermath are minimal. We all volunteered knowing that, Captain, Torres said firmly. Nods around the table confirmed her words. These were people who had lost everything to the Meridians, homes, families, futures. They were willing to trade their lives for a chance to save what remained of humanity. Then let's make it count, Ilara said, ending the meeting. Battle stations in 4 hours. Get some rest while you can. In her quarters, Ilara recorded what might be her final log entry. Captain's log, HSS Vindication. We are approximately 8 hours from our target. If we succeed, this may be the turning point humanity needs. If we fail, she paused, staring at the small holo image of her family. Then we join the billions already lost to this war. Either way, the Vindication will complete its mission. Voss out. She had just closed the log when the ship's alarms blared. Captain to the bridge, emergency. Torres's voice echoed through the comms. Ilara was moving before the message finished, racing through corridors to the bridge. Status, she demanded as she entered. Meridian Patrol detected our drive signature, Shen reported tersely. They've changed course to investigate and are broadcasting an alert. The tactical display showed 3 Meridian cruisers converging on their position, with more ships responding to the alert from nearby sectors. Time to intercept, Ilara asked, sliding into her command chair. First cruiser in 7 minutes, Wells reported from the helm, the others shortly after. Ilara's mind raced through options. Running would only delay the inevitable. Once detected, the Meridians would hunt them relentlessly. Fighting might work against 3 ships, but not against the reinforcements already en route. Tactical, arm all weapons, she ordered. Helm, increase speed to maximum. If they've seen us, there's no point in holding back. Engineering, how soon can the quantum disruptor be ready? It's designed for deployment at Nexus Prime. Karimi's voice came back, strained. Using it here would waste our only shot. We may not have a choice, Ilara replied. Prep it for emergency deployment. The ship surged forward as Wells pushed the experimental engines beyond their tested limits. The Vindication shuddered, vibrations running through the hull as systems strained under the pressure. Contact. Meridian vessels opening fire, Shen shouted. The first energy beams sliced through space around them, the Meridian's targeting algorithms predicting where the Vindication would be rather than where it was. Wells' erratic evasive maneuvers, a distinctly human touch of unpredictability, kept them from taking direct hits. Return fire, all batteries, Ilara commanded. The Vindication unleashed its own weapons, plasma cannons, and quantum torpedoes that split and reformed through localized space-time distortions. The leading Meridian cruiser took multiple hits, its shields flaring with blue light as they absorbed the energy. Their shields are holding, Torres reported, but we got their attention. That was the idea, Ilara said grimly. Helm, course 227 Mark 18, maximum speed. Engineering, prepare for emergency jump on my mark. The Vindication's experimental jump drive wasn't designed for combat situations. It required precise calculations and stable conditions. Using it under fire was dangerously close to suicide. Captain, we're being targeted by multiple weapon systems, Shen warned. Their predictive algorithms are adapting to our evasion patterns. A massive blast rocked the ship, sending crew members sprawling across the bridge. Emergency sirens wailed as damage reports flooded in. Direct hit, starboard shields down to 42%. Torres reported, blood trickling from a cut on her forehead. Hull breach on deck C, emergency teams responding. Ilara gripped her command chair as the ship shuddered under another near miss. Engineering, status of the jump drive. Calculations complete, but we need 15 seconds of stable flight to initiate. Karimi shouted over the alarms. Helm, give me those 15 seconds. Ilara ordered. Tactical, concentrate all fire on the lead cruiser. Give them something to worry about besides us. The Vindication's weapons blazed, pouring destructive energy into the nearest Meridian vessel. Its shields buckled under the onslaught, sections of its hull vaporizing as the human ship's advanced weapons found their mark. 10 seconds to jump capability. Karimi called. Another hit shook the ship violently. Port engines damage. Wells reported. Fighting with the controls. Compensating. 5 seconds. The tactical display showed more Meridian ships arriving, their weapons preparing to fire. Ready to jump. Karimi announced. Jump. Ilara commanded. Space twisted around the Vindication as its experimental drive tore a hole in reality. For a sickening moment, the ship existed partially in normal space and partially in the chaotic non-space between dimensions. Then, with a violent lurch that threw everyone forward, they emerged back into normal space, hundreds of thousands of kilometers from where they had been. Warning lights flashed across every console as systems recovered from the emergency jump. The bridge was filled with the acrid smell of burned circuitry. Status report, Ilara demanded, pulling herself back to her feet. Jump successful, Torres confirmed, checking her readouts. But the drive is severely damaged. We won't be able to use it again without extensive repairs. Position. Wells checked his navigation systems. Captain, the jump threw us directly into the Meridian home system. We're less than 2 hours from Nexus Prime. A stunned silence fell over the bridge. The emergency jump, calculated in haste and executed under fire, had accidentally accomplished what would have taken them days of careful navigation. Did they track our jump? Ilara asked, turning to Shen. He shook his head. No signs of pursuit yet. The jump signature would have been masked by the weapons fire, but they'll figure it out soon enough. Ilara studied the tactical display, where Nexus Prime now appeared as a glowing target. Their unexpected arrival had given them a brief window of opportunity before the Meridians realized where they had gone. Damage report, she ordered. Hull breaches sealed on Deck C, Torres reported. Engineering reports the jump drive is offline. Weapons systems at 83%. Shields at 56% and regenerating. We lost 12 crew members. Ilara closed her eyes briefly, acknowledging the loss. Then she straightened. We may not get another chance. Set course for Nexus Prime. Maximum stealth. Tactical, prepare the quantum disruptor for deployment. This is why we came. As the battered Vindication limped toward its target, emergency repairs ongoing throughout the ship, Ilara knew that the next few hours would determine whether humanity had a future, or if the Vindication would become just another piece of debris in the vast graveyard of space. The breaking point. Nexus Prime dominated the view screen as the Vindication approached its target. The massive orbital structure pulsed with ethereal blue light, quantum energies visibly flowing through its crystalline architecture. Surrounding it was the most formidable defensive array humanity had ever encountered. Hundreds of Meridian warships arranged in perfect geometric formations, planetary defense platforms bristling with weapons, and an energy shield that enveloped the entire structure. That's a lot of firepower, Lieutenant Commander Shen observed, his usual stoicism cracking. And yet they don't seem to be on alert, Ilara noted, studying the tactical display. Our emergency jump may have been our salvation. They're looking for us elsewhere. Dr. Shaw gestured to a readout on his console. The quantum signatures are even stronger than our intelligence suggested. The entire Meridian Collective's neural network flows through that structure. And we're going to cut that flow, Ilara said firmly. Options for approaching the target. Torres manipulated the tactical display, highlighting various approach vectors. Standard approaches are all heavily guarded, but there's a maintenance corridor here. She pointed to a narrow channel between defense platforms, designed for their repair drones. If we can mask our signature enough, we might squeeze through. The Vindication is substantially larger than any repair drone, Shen pointed out. We don't need the whole ship to get through, Ilara said, an idea forming. Tactical, could we deploy the quantum disruptor via shuttle? Shen considered for a moment. Theoretically, yes, but it would need a crew to operate it, and someone would have to get close enough to manually activate the cascade sequence. The unspoken implication hung in the air. It would be a suicide mission. I'll pilot the shuttle, Ilara said, her decision already made. Captain, regulations clearly state. Torres began. Regulations went out the airlock when Earth burned. Ilara cut her off. This mission requires precision and split-second timing. I'm the most qualified pilot on board. Torres looked like she wanted to argue further, but Ilara's expression brooked no debate. Commander Torres will assume command of the Vindication. Your orders are to hold position here, remaining at maximum stealth. If the shuttle mission succeeds, you are to jump to the rendezvous coordinates and deliver the data on the Meridian collapse to Fleet Command. And if it fails, Torres asked quietly, then the Vindication becomes humanity's last hope. Use your judgment, Commander. Preparations moved with grim efficiency. The quantum disruptor, smaller than many had expected for a weapon of such potential, was transferred to the shuttle. Engineer Karimi insisted on joining the mission to monitor the device, and Dr. Shah volunteered to operate the complex activation sequence. With the addition of Lieutenant Park as co-pilot and weapons specialist, the shuttle crew was complete. Standing in the shuttle bay, Ilara addressed her senior officers one last time. The Vindication is the product of humanity's greatest minds and bravest hearts. Whatever happens today, remember that. Torres, the ship is yours. Torres saluted sharply, emotion visible in her eyes despite her rigid posture. It's been an honor, Captain. The shuttle departed silently, its stealth systems rendering it nearly invisible against the backdrop of space. Ilara piloted the small craft with delicate precision, approaching the maintenance corridor Torres had identified. Maintaining minimal power signature, Park reported from the co-pilot's seat. Their sensors should register us as background radiation, if at all. Quantum disruptor stable, Karimi added from the rear compartment where he monitored the weapon. But we'll need to get within 8 kilometers of the central node for optimal effect. Dr. Shah looked up from his calculations. I've refined the deployment sequence. We should be able to trigger a cascading failure that will propagate through their entire network. Ilara guided the shuttle through the narrow maintenance corridor, passing between massive defense platforms designed to annihilate capital ships. The small craft's size and minimal energy signature were their only advantages. That and the Meridian's inability to conceive of such a desperate, seemingly suicidal attack. Defense platform activating scan protocols, Park warned, tension in his voice. Adjusting our signature to match background radiation. Ilara held her breath as the powerful scanning beams swept past their position. For a moment, the shuttle's systems flickered as the energy wash disrupted their delicate equipment. They're not targeting us, Park confirmed as the scanning beams moved on. We're still invisible to them. They emerged from the maintenance corridor into the shadow of Nexus Prime itself. Up close, the structure was even more imposing. A massive crystalline lattice with energy conduits pulsing like arteries. At its center, visible through the semi-transparent outer layers, was the quantum core, a sphere of pure energy that connected every Meridian soldier and ship across dozens of star systems. There's our target, Ilara said, pointing to a docking port designed for maintenance drones. We'll attach there and deploy on foot. On foot, Shaw questioned. The radiation levels inside the structure will be lethal without proper shielding. The suits in the rear compartment have limited radiation protection, Ilara replied. They'll buy us enough time. Left unspoken was that enough time didn't include a return trip. Ilara docked the shuttle with practiced precision, the magnetic clamps engaging silently. The 4 humans donned the radiation suits and double-checked their equipment. Karimi carefully secured the quantum disruptor in its specialized carrying case. Once we're inside, we'll have approximately 20 minutes before radiation exposure reaches critical levels, Shaw informed them. After that, cognitive function will deteriorate rapidly. Then we'd better move quickly, Ilara said, cycling the airlock. They entered Nexus Prime through the maintenance port, emerging into a crystalline corridor bathed in blue light. Unlike human structures with their clearly defined purposes and practical designs, the interior of Nexus Prime seemed almost organic. Energy flowed through translucent walls, like blood through veins, and the architecture followed patterns that felt alien to human perception. This way, Shaw whispered, consulting a small device that tracked quantum energy flows. The core is 2 levels down. They moved cautiously through the structure, encountering no Meridian soldiers. It wasn't surprising. The collective rarely stationed biological units on Nexus Prime, preferring automated systems for maintenance and defense. Radiation levels rising, Park warned, checking his suit's sensors. 15 minutes remaining at current exposure rates. They descended through a spiraling passage, the quantum energy growing more intense with each step. The radiation made their skin tingle even through the protective suits, and Ilara tasted metal in her mouth, an early warning sign of dangerous exposure. Wait, Karimi hissed suddenly, pulling them into a recess in the wall. Moments later, a maintenance drone floated past, its sensor arms extended as it checked energy conduits. Once it passed, they continued downward, finally reaching a vast chamber that housed the quantum core. The sphere of energy at its center pulsed with hypnotic rhythm, tendrils of quantum particles stretching outward to connect with conduits that extended throughout the structure. There, Shaw pointed to a control interface designed for drone use. I can access the core's systems from there. We need to get the disruptor within 5 meters of the central sphere. Park checked his weapon, a last resort if they were discovered. 10 minutes of radiation protection remaining. Ilara and Karimi carefully approached the central platform, carrying the quantum disruptor between them. The energy emissions grew stronger as they neared the core, causing their suit systems to emit warning beeps. Status, Ilara asked, as they set the device down on the platform. Disruptor is stable, but we need to activate it soon, Karimi replied, opening the case. The quantum interference is affecting its containment field. Shaw worked quickly at the control interface, his fingers dancing across the alien controls. I'm creating a bypass in their security systems. They'll detect it soon, but it should give us the window we need. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the chamber. Harsh red light pulsed alongside the blue quantum glow. They've detected us, Park shouted, raising his weapon. How much time do you need? Ilara demanded, drawing her own sidearm. 3 minutes to finish the bypass, then another 2 to activate the disruptor, Shaw replied, working frantically. You've got it, Ilara said. Park, Karimi, defensive positions. The first Meridian defenders arrived seconds later, not biological soldiers, but combat drones designed for internal security. They moved with perfect coordination, their weapons targeted with inhuman precision. Park fired first, his specialized disruptor pistol sending electromagnetic pulses that temporarily scrambled the drone's systems. Ilara added her fire, picking off drones as they recovered from Park's disruption. Bypass complete, Shaw announced. Beginning final sequence. Karimi, I need you. Karimi left his defensive position and raced to the quantum disruptor, connecting it to Shaw's interface. Together, they worked to align the device with the core's quantum frequency. More drones poured into the chamber, overwhelming Park's position. The beam caught him in the shoulder, spinning him around. He continued firing even as he fell, his suit's integrity compromised. 2 minutes, Shaw called out, his voice strained. Ilara maintained her position, methodically eliminating drones as they approached. A near miss scorched her suit, warnings flashing across her helmet display about radiation leakage. "Captain," Karimi shouted in warning as a larger security drone entered the chamber. This one moved differently, more fluidly, more intelligently. "They've connected a meridian consciousness to it," Shaw explained, still working on the disruptor. "They know what we're doing." The advanced drone fired a precision shot that struck Karimi in the chest. He stumbled backward, his hands clutching at the wound, but somehow remained standing. "Almost. There," he gasped, returning to the disruptor. Blood leaked through his fingers as he made the final connections. Ilara emptied her weapon at the advanced drone, forcing it back momentarily. "Shaw, status. Final sequence initiated," he reported. 30 seconds to cascade." The advanced drone recovered and fired again, catching Shaw in the side. He collapsed against the control interface, his blood smearing the crystalline surface. "Keep it busy for 20 more seconds," he managed through gritted teeth, continuing to work despite his wound. Ilara charged the drone, firing her last shots before throwing her empty weapon directly at its sensor array. The momentary distraction allowed her to close the distance, grappling with the machine as it tried to target the quantum disruptor. 10 seconds, Shaw called, his voice weakening. Ilara felt a burning pain as the drone's integrated blade pierced her suit and sank into her abdomen. She held on grimly, using her body to shield the disruptor from the drone's weapons. 5, 4, 3. Shaw counted down. The drone broke free from Ilara's grasp, throwing her aside. It turned toward the disruptor, weapon raising for a final shot. 1. A pulse of energy erupted from the quantum disruptor, not an explosion but something more fundamental. It rippled outward, interacting with the quantum core. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the core's rhythmic pulsing faltered, stuttered, and began to unravel. The advanced drone froze in place, its movements suddenly uncoordinated. The quantum tendrils connecting the core to the rest of the structure began to dissipate, the energy pattern collapsing in on itself. Ilara dragged herself to where Shaw lay against the console. "Did it work?" she asked, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth. He nodded weakly, looking at the readouts. "Cascade initiated. The disruption is propagating through their entire network. Every quantum connection is breaking simultaneously." He coughed, a spray of red staining his faceplate. "It's beautiful, in a way." Karimi crawled toward them, leaving a trail of blood behind him. The Meridian Collective is experiencing individualization. For the first time in their existence, they're alone in their own minds. Through the chamber's viewing port, they could see Meridian ships in orbit suddenly moving erratically, as if their pilots had forgotten how to fly. Some collided with each other, while others drifted powerless. "They don't know how to function as individuals," Shaw explained, his breathing labored. "Their entire civilization is built around the collective consciousness. Without it, they'll adapt," Ilara said, watching the chaos unfold. "But it will take time. Time for humanity to rebuild." Park had stopped moving, his radiation-compromised suit having failed completely. Karimi's eyes were closed, his chest barely moving. Shaw's readings showed critical radiation exposure. Ilara activated her emergency beacon, knowing it would guide the Vindication to their location. Her vision began to blur as radiation and blood loss took their toll, but she smiled as she watched the quantum core continue its cascade failure. "Captain's final log," she whispered to her suit's recorder. "Mission accomplished. The quantum disruptor performed as designed. The Meridian neural network has collapsed. Their empire fell in a single night." She leaned back against the console, strength fading. Through the viewport, she could see the Vindication approaching, navigating through the confused Meridian vessels with Torres at the helm. Tell Earth, we kept our promise. As consciousness slipped away, Captain Ilara Voss saw not the sterile chamber of Nexus Prime, but the green hills of Earth she had left behind years ago. In a single night, one human warship had accomplished what fleets could not, bringing down an empire and giving humanity a second chance. 3 weeks later, Commander Julia Torres stood before the rebuilt United Earth Council, the data core from the Vindication's mission displayed prominently on the central pedestal. The Meridian Collective no longer exists as we knew it, she reported. The quantum disruption severed every neural connection simultaneously. Their ships, their soldiers, all operating independently for the first time. The resulting confusion has crippled their military capability. And the cost? Asked Admiral Chen, one of the few flag officers to survive the war. The HSS Vindication returned with 18% casualties. Torres replied evenly. Captain Voss and the shuttle team did not survive. A moment of silence filled the chamber. Their sacrifice has already been recognized with the highest honors, the council president said. But perhaps the greatest monument to their memory will be the rebuilding of human civilization. She gestured to the latest reports. The Meridians have withdrawn from 7 star systems already. Their remaining ships appear to be returning to their home territory. They're trying to rebuild their own society, Torres explained, learning to exist as individuals after generations of collective consciousness. Our intelligence suggests it may take them decades to adapt, if they can adapt at all. And the quantum disruptor technology? Another counselor asked. Could they develop a countermeasure? Dr. Imani Okafor, the scientist whose discovery had made the mission possible, stepped forward. The technology has been classified at the highest level, but more importantly, the Meridians would have to rebuild their neural network from scratch, knowing its vulnerability. It's unlikely they would risk it. The council president nodded and rose to her feet. Then it seems humanity has been granted something we'd almost lost hope for, a future. The defense of our remaining colonies and the reclamation of those we lost will begin immediately. Commander Torres, in recognition of your service, you are hereby promoted to captain and assigned command of the U.S. Phoenix, the first vessel of our new fleet. Torres accepted the promotion with a solemn nod, though her thoughts remained with the crew of the Vindication, particularly with Captain Ilara Voss, whose leadership and sacrifice had made this moment possible. As the meeting adjourned, Torres paused by a viewport overlooking Earth. Construction ships were already at work rebuilding orbital infrastructure, and the first green shoots were visible in regions devastated by Meridian bombardment. Life returning, hope rekindled. We kept our promise, Ilara, she whispered to the stars. We gave humanity its second chance. In the vast darkness of space, the legend of the Vindication, the single human warship that destroyed an empire overnight, began to spread among the stars, a testament to human ingenuity, courage, and the indomitable will to survive against impossible odds.